If you've been around the game of pickleball for long enough, you've probably heard the saying, shoulder high, let it fly. Meaning if the ball's at your shoulders or higher, you want to let that ball go. The problem is with the increase of paddle technology and the amount of spin you can put on the ball, that's not always the case. So there's a couple other things that's important to keep in mind that we're going to go over in this video, such as speed, angles, momentum, and spin. We're going to cover all that and more in this video. Let's go.
Here are some things you should consider when deciding whether to let a ball go or hit it. The first is looking at their backswing in relation to the position they are on the court. Okay, so the further back that someone is on a court, the bigger backswing that they can have and the ball is gonna land in. But when people are up, especially at the kitchen line, you really need a short backswing to keep that ball in. So if you see somebody at the kitchen line really close to the net take a really huge backswing, oftentimes that's gonna mean the ball is gonna go out of bounds.
The next thing that's really important to consider when letting out balls go is contact point. And what I mean by that is how high is the ball off the ground when your opponent strikes it? Okay, so the lower the ball is towards the ground in relation to where they're standing on the court is going to make a big difference. Similar to what we were just talking about with backswing, the closer you get to the net, the lower your contact point is, the more speed and the more spin you need to keep the ball in. The further you are away from the net, if your contact point is really low, you need more speed and less spin to keep the ball in. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, if the ball bounces a little higher and the contact point is higher off the ground, those balls are going to be even easier to keep in than a low ball.
The next thing to consider when assessing if something is an out ball or not is determining the forward momentum of your opponent hitting the ball or if they're off balance. So if your opponent is hitting a ball and they have a ton of momentum, meaning that they're running through their shot, that's something to keep in mind because that added momentum could push that ball off the court. Another thing to keep in mind is whether they're hitting that ball off balance. Most intelligent players aren't going to go for a power shot when they're off balance because there's a lot of room for error. So just keep in mind the forward momentum of the player and whether they're off balance or not. Those two things are going to be really important when assessing whether a ball is going to land in or out.
Now, there's a couple times in pickleball when I abide by the prove it principle. Here's what I mean. Let's say that my opponent has a backwind, meaning that there's wind with them. That's a time where I'm gonna make them prove it. Make them early in a game prove that they can keep that ball in. So I'm more likely to let that ball fly. Another thing would be is if I see my opponent consistently making contact at a low position, I'm gonna make them prove that they can keep that ball in with spin. So just remember, early in a game, it's a great time to make your opponents prove it. And once they pass that test, you can be a little more aggressive with your response. Now, here's the thing, guys. Letting out balls go is actually something you can drill and train. And coming up, we have some incredible drills that's gonna help you put this into a game-like scenario. Okay, so hopping into this first drill, this is the targeted speed up drill. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have my partner right across from me at the kitchen line. We're gonna be dinking back and forth. We're going to pick a target beforehand and my partner is going to know where I'm speeding the ball up, okay? So for the sake of this drill, I'm gonna be aiming at her left hip to left shoulder. That's my target, okay? She knows that. And so all she has to do, she doesn't have to guess where the speed up's gonna be. She just has to decide whether the ball's going out based off of what we talked about earlier in the video, okay? So here's how it's gonna look. We're gonna dink back and forth here. She doesn't know when the speed up's coming, but she knows where it's coming. So when I get one, good. So she probably chose to counter that ball and not let it go because of the speed at which I hit it and the spin that I used, even though I contacted it from a low position. All right, let's try another one. Okay, so that one you see, she chose to let the ball go, probably because I had a big backswing, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna try one more here. She knows where I'm speeding it up, she just doesn't know when, okay? Again, okay, why'd you choose to let that one go?
I think it was kind of a combination, like at the backswing and then where you contacted it.
Okay. Yeah, I think on that one, I didn't have as big a backswing as the one before, but I was a little off balance. I was leaning forward a little. I wasn't very much on balance. I think that's why I let that ball go, or she let that ball go, or maybe one of the reasons it went out. This is a great way to train to let the ball go out. Now, when you're doing this with your partner, this partner can really work on their speed up, work on keeping the ball in, but this partner, their only responsibility is to let it go out because they know where it's going. Okay, so that wraps it up for that drill, but coming up, we have a really great drill that really took my game to the next level, so stay tuned. Okay, so for this next drill, you're gonna want a ball caddy if you have one, or make sure you have multiple balls. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of rapid fire balls across the net, but my opponent is going to be trying to read where I make contact with the ball. So I'm gonna purposely make contact low, make contact a little higher, make contact a little higher, and she's gonna read where I make contact with the ball, and then she's gonna try to read the speed of the ball, the spin of the ball, and kind of the flight path of the ball as well. She needs to decide, do I block? Meaning, do I kind of defensively block the ball back? Do I counter, meaning do I counter punch the ball back? Or do I let the ball go? Okay, so here's what it's gonna look like. It's gonna be a little rapid fire here. Good. Good. Ooh, almost looped it in. Nice. Okay. So what you're seeing here is I'm changing up the speed at which I'm hitting the ball. I'm also changing the spin and the point at which I contact the ball. So she's really reading my shot to determine if she's gonna let the ball go, counter like she did, or block. And that drill's really gonna take you to the next level.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the PlayPickleball.com YouTube channel.
And we'll see you on the next one.